In this episode, Pages of History, How to Down a Plane with a Tank. A tutorial by a tank ace, Alexander Fadin. A new challenge, we're testing the game's depth charges. And the new metal beasts, a wheeled Italian called the Centauro. The Centauro wheeled tank destroyer is one of the fastest vehicles, not only at its rank, but also in the whole game. Its nominal max speed reaches 110 kph in RB and around 120 kph in arcade. That's, of course, in ideal conditions, on a good road. In off-road conditions, you aren't likely to make more than about 50 kph. But that's already quite an achievement when compared to other vehicles at BR 7.7. The other strong point of Centauro is its powerful 105mm cannon with a two-plane gun stabilizer. Its elevation angles aren't that impressive, though, from -6 to +15 degrees. The vehicle also carries two Beretta MGs, one on the roof and the other mounted coaxially and hidden in the turret. The placement of the engine is a bit unorthodox. It's in the front side of the hull. At the same time, the ammo rack was moved away from the front. Your ammunition will be stored in the rear and the rear side of the turret. The crew consists of 4 men, 3 of which are located in the turret, while the driver's seat is in the body of the vehicle as usual. Then there's the elephant in the room, the wheels. You get 8 of them, and the Centauro is an 8-wheel drive vehicle for better cross-country ability. Let's get back to the gun, though. With it comes a nice assortment of ammunition. First, you have access to heats that pierce up to 400mm of armor, very useful against the most well-armored of targets. Second, you get very destructive APHE shells that make short work of spags and other lightly armored targets. Furthermore, you have sub-calibers that penetrate up to 300mm of armor at both short and medium distances, and also a smoke round for daring escapes and for those times when you need to spoil the day of a pesky camper. A few words about armor. In order to get its speed advantage, the Centauro had to make some serious concessions to its protection. Even in the front, it has only 35mm of armor. Funnily enough, it might be a blessing in disguise. At this rank, enemy shells will often go right through your vehicle without dealing too much damage. Also, in any situation when you're suddenly under fire, there's always the option to immediately go in reverse, up to 40 kph in reverse is no joke, and find yourself a safer spot. All in all, the Centauro fits a number of different playstyles. For instance, your speed allows you to quickly capture points right at the start of the match, and then just play around opponents' mistakes. Just remember that capturing a zone is only half the job. You also have to survive there. And given its size, the Centauro is not a vehicle you can hide behind every bush. There's a neat trick, though, that might make it easier. Given the unusual design of the tank destroyer, or more precisely, the fact that your turret is positioned close to the rear of the vehicle, a viable strategy is to peek out of cover with your rear, make a shot, and then vanish from the enemy's sight once again. Just remember that your ammo rack is also in the rear, so be quick. Make a shot and get back to safety. A second of hesitation might cost you the vehicle. Another viable tactic that can also be combined with the first is to fill the role of a classic support. Given the high speed of your heats, you won't have much difficulty landing shots even at the longest ranges. Go from flank to flank, change your positions often, and you'll make the lives of your enemies hell. Just don't forget that the Centauro is a wheeled vehicle and not a tracked one, and, as such, can't turn on the spot. This Italian also has an older brother of sorts, the Centauro Romor, that sits at battle rating 9.3. It boasts the same speed and mobility but comes equipped with ERA packs, giving it around 300mm of armor against enemy heats. Of course, at high BRs, players are fond of using APCR rounds that have no difficulty piercing through ERA. But this additional armor will certainly come in handy when facing helicopters, so in the end, the Romor has better survivability overall. It also has access to a wonderful DM-33 APF SDS that punches through almost 450mm of armor at close to mid-range. That's more than enough to penetrate the defenses of an Abrams or a T-80. On the other hand, you lose your smoke launcher, which means that it'll be more difficult to get out of sticky situations. All in all, Italian Centauros are excellent support vehicles that are great for ambushes, killer rushes, and lightning-quick acts of violence. In the right hands, they will earn their team most capture zones on the map, while also making enemies doubt their every move with sudden strikes from unexpected directions. There weren't that many recorded cases when a tank managed to shoot down a plane using its main gun. Usually it was just luck. Today, though, we'll tell you about the case which was all about skill and cunning, which is only appropriate as the tank in question was under the command of Alexander Fadin, one of many notable tank aces of World War II. During the Korsun-Shevchenkovsky offensive, the 207th Battalion of the 22nd Guards Tank Brigade received an order to take the village of Dashukovka. Sounds trivial, but at the time, the active tank forces of the battalion were reduced to a single tank. An order's an order, though. Even getting to the village itself proved to be quite a challenge. The road conditions were so bad that the tank made its way to the target location only in the evening. Soon, the crew spotted a column of German Volta vehicles. The Soviet tankers dealt with them by the book, took out the lead vehicle with the first shot, the one in the rear with the second shot, and it was a walk in the park from there on. Fadin and his men destroyed the rest of the convoy, while German survivors fled to the forest. It was almost the dawn of the next day when a Caprone, a transport aircraft of Italian production, flew across the village. What happened next was as follows, in the words of Alexander Fadin himself. Along the opposite side of the ravine behind the small bush, there might have been a road perpendicular to the one which we had sealed up, and a telegraph line passed along it. The plane was cruising along that line, and knowing approximate distance between telegraph poles, I calculated its speed. It was not great, some 50 to 60 kilometers per hour. I ordered Fiatisov to unscrew a cap and load the splinter round. The plane turned around, I led it, fired. The round hit right at its motor. That, of course, wasn't the end of the battle, though. By that point, Fadin had only 3 rounds left, an HE shell, an armor-piercing shell, and a sub-caliber round. There was no help in sight, while an enemy Tiger approached their position. The only remaining Soviet tank was well hidden behind a house wall. The Tiger looked for targets but failed to spot the T-34. Fadin let the enemy get closer. Then his tank rushed out of cover to fire at the German tank head-on. The driver jerked the tank back abruptly to get back into cover, but this wasn't needed. The Tiger was done for. Even then, it still wasn't over. There was a Ferdinand SPG ahead. Fadin decided to fight it with its last round, but this time it was the German SPG that shot first. This shot killed the Soviet gunner and injured other members of the crew, but Fadin proved to be lucky. He survived and lived to tell this tale himself. Even made it to the 21st century. By the way, Germans failed to capture Dashukovka. This was their last attempt at breaking out of the pocket at this part of the front. And now, a long-awaited challenge. We haven't seen that in a while, have we? We continue our glorious tradition of very serious field experiments. Today, we'll be testing depth charges. Some say that they're utterly useless. Others claim that they're an ultimate weapon capable of sinking even the most well-protected of ships. It's time we saw what these bombs are really capable of. And showed you. Let's start simple. Our first target will be a small boat, and we'll drop our bombs at some distance. Here they go. And that's nothing. Just splashed it with a bit of water. We'll get a bit closer. Here come the bombs. Boom. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. The blast wave damaged its control systems and destroyed its propeller and rudder set. What if we get right next to it? Here come the bombs, and the boat is torn to pieces. Beautiful. Okay, next. Now our target is a big destroyer. It's not easy to get close and personal with one of those in real battle conditions, but let's try to do it anyway. Okay, we leave the safety of the island. Damn, it won't make it easy for us, will it? All right, let's make it lose its teeth for the sake of our experiment. We start at 50 meters, dropping a few charges at once and getting nothing, just a pretty water plume. We get closer, deliver the bombs once again. That's it. Target destroyed. But the true test still lies ahead. Let's see if our little depth bombs can crack the armor of a mighty cruiser. We approach the target, dispatch the bombs, and, well, seems like we managed to scratch it a little bit. We get as close as possible. Here's the explosion. And the giant sinks as well. Let's think out of the box now, and test if developers really thought of everything. Can a depth charge destroy an aircraft? Let's get ourselves a nice flying boat, a Catalina for instance. Get it ready, drop a few bombs. Here goes boom, and the aircraft is no more. Let's raise the stakes a bit. What if the aircraft flies close to water, of course? Okay. Yep, still works. Depending on the altitude of the plane, you can get anything from a regular crit to a complete and utter destruction of a flying target. Well, now you finally know how to deal with enemy aircraft. Just kidding. You probably won't be able to do that in real battle conditions. It's hard enough to use depth charges effectively even against ships. It's a close combat weapon. At the same time, a single good depth charge might sink even the mighty Krasny Kavkaz. But a vigilant enemy is unlikely to let you come close enough to pull that off. Still, if you use a cruiser or a destroyer, be extremely wary of narrow passages between islands, and plan your route in a way that you minimize the chances of running into a stray enemy boat. G-Bomb Mister writes, "Do you really read all the comments? Then pin this comment." Of course we do. We can't answer all of them, though, even though the temptation is sometimes very, very strong. For instance, you like to ask us about the Next Nations, or the ETA of new vehicles. We're always happy to see what you're interested in, and take it into consideration in developing the process, but in most cases have no right to give you the answers, or even hint at them, before the official release. Thanks to all of you who understand that. As Master Gaming, are there plans to add online historical missions, such as the bombing of the Schweinfurt? Aye. We already have a number of standalone historical missions, as well as a full-length historical campaign. We've actually introduced a lot of well-known IRL battles in our game. The Spanish Civil War, the Battle of Britain, the attack on Pearl Harbor, you name it. Or are you writing about a kind of new online game mode, when both sides are controlled by players only? Yoyao Victor Dayo. Yes, we love test drives and comparisons. Please do more of them. Hi mate, we also enjoy making comparisons and test drives, so we do not plan to stop anytime soon. You can actually contribute by suggesting what new triathlons and challenges we should do. Oneski wonder, what code is the single-user mission previews based off of? I want to decipher it to get to the Million Eagles, and I need to know what coding to learn first. That's a great question. Of course, you won't be able to get a Million Eagles this way, as this kind of data is not available client-side and is safely guarded. But we're very happy to see this kind of enthusiasm towards the code of our game. People like you are the reason why we created Content Development Kit, that you can use to create your own camos, models, and even missions that can be later downloaded and played by other members of the community. Good luck. Bembox21. Will it ever be added where your tanks have fuel? Thanks for asking, but it's highly unlikely. We try to find a kind of balance between a good gameplay loop and realism to make our game engaging. What's engaging about running out of fuel in the middle of nowhere? Let's say that all our tanks go to battle with full tanks. Soshikian. What is the headlight-shaped thing on the back of the turret on the T-72A next to the shell ejection hatch? Hi. Thanks for noticing such small details. Our modelers are happy to know that their hard work and perfectionism do not go unnoticed. This small thing is actually a searchlight. You're absolutely correct. It can also emit an IR. It's used when the vehicle has to move in a column at night, and also during night firing practice so that observers can track the rotation of tank turrets from the safety of their watchtowers. You're done for. Can we have an episode on crew skills and training? That's a brilliant idea, actually. Yeah, we'll certainly do at some point in the future. Well, that's it for today. That was the Shooting Range 2.0 by Gaijin Entertainment. Thanks for your questions and likes. Subscribe to the channel, click on that bell, and do not miss our upcoming videos. We'll try to make them better with every new episode.